and welcome to Screen Time Continuum. I am Keelan. It is Sunday, and we are gonna have some great things for you for the show we have planned. I'm here with Nick. How you doing over there, Nick?
Fantastic. Happy Sunday to you, man.
Happy Sunday to you as well. And Dijon is here with us as well.
Hey, what's up? Sunday fun day. Let's get this party started.
There we go.
Definitely going to be a fun day. So today's episode is going to be about the Netflix series Yasuke or Yasuke or whatever you like to call it, Black Samurai, SVO. Go with it. Just that's what we're going to be talking about today, and you'll understand as we go through it how the name changes will probably not really matter. This is a really interesting thing from my end. I think it's a show that was made by, well, not made by, but it involves LaShawn Thomas. Main character is voiced by Lakeith Stanfield, so it was just out there for people to kind of take in as, hey, there's a black anime going on over there. But that's the beginning of how Keelan feels. What did you think, Nick, as your first introduction, like an overall coverage of Yasuke? What was your thoughts?
Well, first, I think Yasuke sounds so much better than Yusuke. So I'm glad that they pronounce it that way. And now that I know that the U is not overly pronounced in Japanese, so right. that helped me learn something. I enjoyed this series definitely very much. I found it really interesting, and kind of what I found the most interesting is that Yasuke was a real human being. That was possibly from, they say, Mozambique or Sudan, but definitely Africa. And he was in Japan in the 1500s, which I think is actually really fascinating. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that story as well. But I love the animation. I love the story. It's a very classic tale. So it's modeled very much off of like the Kurosawa Japanese, shogun style movies, and with the same sort of themes and stuff, which I definitely liked. I enjoyed it. It was a good quick watch. I kind of appreciated that it wasn't like 20 episodes. Like I kind of like the short and sweet stories, especially after watching Love, Death, and Robots. But yeah, it was a fun watch.
Definitely. How about yourself, Dijon? What'd you think about it?
I did not like it.
I saw that coming. I'm not going to lie to you, but go ahead.
There's some appreciation for it, especially from the history it comes from, and some aspects they put in from history itself beyond, what do you call it? What is it? Sasuke being a real person. And I like the little tidbits of stuff from the Japanese history, especially with, the women as well. Like, I thought that was pretty dope on how a lot of women was portrayed. I did not even know that women in that time period, or a certain time period, they was built up to be samurais. And I thought that was pretty dope. But I got my issues with it,
for sure.
But I mean, we'll dive into that bad boy.
Definitely. So for sure, I know you guys just said a few things that kind of were interesting to me because of some of the research, and I agree with everything both of you said. At the same time, I learned some new things as well. And from my level of agreement, it's just, things that I noticed. Like, I noticed all of those exact same things. One thing that I loved about the series is it was just creative. Like, I understand that, there was a real person, and I knew a little bit about the person, heard some of the history and the lore. I even found out that there's a book written called The African Samurai, written by Thomas Lockley, who happens to be a foremost researcher on Yasuke in particular, like the most researched guy on him. It was interesting to find out. And he co-wrote that book with another gentleman whose name I didn't catch. And they actually, so Nick, you and I heard the same thing about him being possibly from the Mozambique and how all of that went. Thomas Lockley, though, from his research, believes that he was actually from a different part of Africa and that he ended up over in India. That's where he really learned how to fight and all of those kind of things, and became like more of a mercenary. And that's how he came over to Japan, not quite the way that we heard as the Mozambique thing, and then, being a servant, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And back to what you were saying, Dejan, I think I really do agree with the whole, this is a real person, and the illustration of the person, if we're looking at it from a historical aspect and putting it together with just basic anime, it's like, okay, no, maybe it's not that good. But for myself, I wanted to add to that I thought that at first, and then I took a second thought to it, and my second thought led me to appreciate the creativity of taking the idea of this real person and turning it into what we witnessed in these 6 episodes. And also myself, I do feel like that there, and again, like we're going to really dive a little deeper, but I feel like there were even possibly, say, 7 or 8 episodes that were possible, and maybe some of that got yanked out because some of the storylines seemed a little scattered. And about episode 3 and episode 5 specifically, there were certain things I was like, wait, huh? Like, how would that even, that's not congruent with what's really going on, but everything else adds up around it. So yeah, I like the way you guys both broke that down, and that's my addition to that.
Yeah, and if I can kind of piggyback a little bit on what Dejan's sentiment is, I was surprised that it wasn't as trippy as I thought it was going to be. I thought, you had Flying Lotus doing the music, and I did like the animation a lot. I was kind of wondering if it was going to get into a much more like psychedelic, not psychedelic, but more like mind twisty sort of place. And I mean, like, it was very much a cut and dry story. But I still enjoyed the animation. And yeah, I can see where it would be. Like, there were points in the series where, like, I know this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then that's going to happen. And maybe that's because they had to kind of tell the initial story of Yasuke first. And then maybe in the future, they can start to, like, expand out and have some fun with the universe. Yeah.
Yeah. And truthfully, that's what I think this season may have set up if they are willing to move forward. Because what it seems to me, and this is where from this point we can really dive into the episodes. It seems to me that what we witness, aside from the historical flashbacks, what we're looking at is now, and I got this honestly from like episode 4 is when I kind of put this together. The time frame we're looking at is after he's been a servant, after he's been a samurai, lived that life, and then he went back to being a servant. So part of that story where he went back to being a servant for the Jesuits, and then he's living this free life now, and that's what we're witnessing is what occurs in that free life. So and that's again where I was adding, I like how they were able to add that fantasy creativity of throwing in the mechs and the magic and all of that they were able to with the script writing, simply because this is the unknown portion. Like, even if you went through history these years, nobody has a clue what's going on 20 years later after everything that was documented.
Yeah, and that was that's one of the things I do kind of like about it, because when I was looking and diving into the history of this dude and what had happened in that time period, it was like they did not know like where in Africa he really came from, but they just had like bits and pieces. Then also after the events of what had happened with this feudal lord and his son and what had happened after that, they sincerely don't know what happened to this dude. And I can definitely see they can take all that creativity from this anime they created based off all this and just totally just go fucking wild with it and just do whatever the hell they want.
Right. And if I'm being honest, I think we can definitely, aside from just this series, we can get more into probably our feelings on maybe the Yasuke story, or just how certain animes and things are portrayed by certain people. But how do you guys feel about these 6 episodes? So let's start. How do you guys want to do this? You want to go episode 1, 2, 3, or you want to go throw it all the storyline together? Again, keeping in mind that some parts of the storyline will jump.
I mean, like, I think we could just kind of throw it all in together. I don't know if I could delineate all of the episodes in my head. I did write some notes, but I didn't necessarily write episode by episode notes because, again, I've seen this story before. So, like,
yeah,
I know what the story is going to be, except for one part where I thought he might die. I was like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. You're going to find the child with amazing powers, and the child with amazing powers does the thing. Defeats evil. But yeah, so like I kind of just followed along through, and for me, I was just really focusing on the animation style, a little bit of the like this sort of like the stylistic sort of stuff. I did like the sort of like the mercenary group that was the bad guys and then the good guys. So yeah, there were a lot of things that I enjoyed. I don't know how I would be able to go through episode by episode, so you might have to take us through that one.
Yeah, I don't. I have an idea of how, but after about episode 4, it really blurs.
Right.
So yeah, from the jump, we meet Yasuke. Yasuke is a boatsman, a fisherman that we meet, or a ferryman, however you want to call it. So yeah, that's why they call him a boatsman, because he had plenty of jobs. And from that point, we find out he's in this town. He knows everybody. Everybody knows him, but he knows nobody because he literally does nothing. Except for Ichiro, the little kid who wants to be a samurai. Just go figure. The kid in the town that wants to be a samurai keeps tabs on and makes friends with the boatsman who hides from his past of being a samurai.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was an interesting addition. And from there, we meet Ichika, who has been taking care of Saki, who is the power kid all this time. What do you guys think of Ichika? Like, I didn't understand.
I thought, was she the girl that like he killed back in the day? They had the same like necklace.
I feel like that was like her sister or
her
daughter
mom?
or something. Yeah,
Maybe
right.
her mom. I don't know. Like,
Now
it was
she's too
very
young to
strange.
maybe be her mom.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
she was a
true.
little. I want to say she may have even been older than
Maybe it was their little
Yasuke.
sister or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what I was thinking.
Yeah. It was kind of confusing because, and then again, like she was she also that monster woman? Because like they all
They
look the
definitely had
same.
some. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
The monster woman, I thought, was definitely his friend reincarnated. Was
Right,
Natsumata,
yeah.
sorry, reincarnated.
yes, you're right.
And that was one of my issues with that. Like, it's like, I get what you guys trying to do, but you guys are not being, straightforward or even just
hmm
moderately clear with it. So it's like, it's leaving it up to you guys as the audience to kind of piece it together. And for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, if I got to turn my brain off, I want to turn my brain off.
Right.
And it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, that was bugging me. And they were like, oh, well, she's part of some type of geisha clan. So I guess they're like scattered everywhere, I guess.
Right, but that was like the seal of the enemy for
Right.
Yasuke, right? Because
Right.
she was working with Hattori
Hattori
Hanzo.
Hanzo, right.
Yeah, and he was the enemy. So it's like, okay, so is she like a descendant of the enemy clan? I don't know. Yeah.
A lot of that didn't make sense. And that was the thing. So if we talk about Nobunaga and his whole, I guess you say his top 7 or whatever they were calling it, right? His top warriors.
Yes.
They were all from everywhere, and it seemed like the only one that was ever loyal to him was Yasuke.
Yeah.
So he had a bunch of enemies at his table.
Yeah, and Nobunaga was actually the actual name of Yasuke's
Right.
sort of like, I don't know, what would you call him?
Handler.
Yeah. Maybe.
Call it what it is. I don't think it was. Listen, that's why I said if we had to have a different episode about Yasuke and our beliefs on that, I don't think it was as pleasant. Again, we're talking about is the series, which is creative and love and all of that good stuff because it's fun and entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Yasuke's story, short version: servant, samurai, servant, okay. Servant, soldier, servant, okay. Servant,
Mm.
servant, servant. Let's call it what
Yeah.
it is. Back to this. What I thought was interesting about that. So with that, that's where that was a little unbelievable too, though. How he went from servant to samurai started with this fight he broke up between a young boy and this grown man in the middle of a courtyard, and him going against tradition. So paint this picture in episode, what was that, 1 or 2? I think it was 1 still. The picture they paint is that Nobunaga rewards those who break tradition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it. That in a nutshell, that's what it was. He's a black man in Japan who doesn't know the tradition. So when he breaks the tradition, it's like a normal thing. And then the breaking of tradition on his end with him is by putting him in power. Now, I'm not saying that that's part is a bad thing, but it's the honesty of what you're telling me. And that's what
And
I understand you're saying, Dijon, about, just there's no directness. You have to kind of read
and
between
then
the lines.
and then he follows tradition to seppuku himself. So
Right, which was I was confused by that as
like
well.
you could just run. You could just
run.
You guys could just both go. You didn't have to follow tradition then.
Right. So what do you guys think of this? So what I think the tie-in of everything, like the easiest way they tied everything in, correct me if I'm wrong, was the statement that was made a few times by multiple people, and it's what I believe tied in all of their fates, which was no honor to be had here, only blood and pain.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that tied in the whole theme of everything, because it was strongly based off of war and control of, and beyond that, discrimination in all shapes and form, from what a woman can do, from an outsider can do, and I guess meeting from him being from a different country, but even different skin tone, it was just a current theme, like just. And
I mean, they called him Cherny, for God's sake, which means Cherny is Ukrainian for black. Oops, sorry, I did that wrong.
See, you see how that was? You see how your screen gets blacked out, you guys, on that end?
Yeah.
We're getting censored by somebody.
That's right.
That's right. We ahead of the game. But no, definitely. I caught that as well, Nick, about the names, the code switching. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. So that takes me to the gang. That's what I kept calling them. There was no real name for them. The gang, and the gang would be the shaman, the Russian werebear. Like she was a Russian and a werebear.
Yep.
And at first I was like, "Oh, she's a werewolf," and I was like, "No, she's a bear. She's a werebear.
Werebear stare.
The werebear stare. You don't want that werebear stare. I'll tell you that.
No.
Maybe you might want to vodka.
They do want it, that nipple.
Hey, listen, he turned into a vodka. You know what I mean? But
was she like flashing her breasts to that dude? Okay,
yes.
I missed. I didn't know if I missed something else, but I was like, okay.
But had she actually stood up, what he would have realized was that was a real life ass bear who was able to hide its skin. Because listen, she was like 8 feet tall.
She was.
It's a big chick.
But so you had the shaman, the werebear, the bladed assassin, and the robot. And it took me a minute to realize that this robot was artificial intelligence, like there was no human involved. But the bladed assassin was kind of the most what they call her, Ishikawa. She was the most like, why are you here for me? Like, it didn't make sense. You have a werebear, a shaman who can use energy to create other beings that he can control that are fully physical. A robot, artificial intelligence, and a ninja, or what would you call her? The child of Zoro?
Which one? The
bladed assassin? Yeah,
I don't know. She just had hook blades like Cabal.
Not even Cabal's actually looked cool. She really just looked like she was hanging out with a mask, a cape, and a scythe. She's
what they call in most animes, or just shit in general, fan service. Something to look at.
Gotcha.
But
cool chick with the boobies.
I don't remember any of that, but I can understand. I know what you mean. As far as the anime concept, I don't remember her having any of that. And that was something I actually liked about this show is there wasn't a lot of those normal anime tropes. You know, the short skirts here and the bouncing boobs, or it was like, no. We're really
Well, it's
just
because
focused on the fight.
it was made by Americans. That's why.
Ah,
I mean,
That,
you know,
that I hate to say it, but that did bug me because I did after watching the series, I did dive into an interview with what's the guy?
LaShawn
that
Thomas
Seltzer?
or Lakeith?
LaShawn with
Okay.
LaShawn Thomas with IGN, and I was just like, he made a comment about what Hollywood does best in taking, folk tales and things like here and there. So basically, what would Disney do with the Grimm tales?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but you just did the same thing with this.
Yep.
I was like, okay,
slam.
but I was like, all right, but you know what? I still got to appreciate, he's doing his thing and trying to represent and make something happen in some shape or form. Because sometimes you got to go there. You got to go there.
Just give people the awareness you can, and let them run with it. All right, cool. So speaking of LaShawn Thomas, another part of the creation team that I kind of want to highlight is when we get to the episode 2, the theme song change.
Yeah.
So you get the theme song that is composed, not produced, composed by Flying Lotus. The Flying Lotus. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool. And then you start paying attention and you're like, is that Thundercat?
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I getting Flying Lotus and Thundercat as a theme song for the anime that I just started?
I'm sorry, that was a bit disappointing, especially coming from Flying Lotus. I was expecting like Nick some more trippy shit, like some sick shit. I mean,
look at listen to his You're Dead album, and I'm like, dude, that would have been great for a fight scene. Just this chaotic like sound wave that that he's known for. Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's disappointing, but I think the creative liberty on just turning this character into something beyond its historical roots. I think they might. I'm just being optimistic, and I think they'll take it and do some crazy shit with it. That's just me being optimistic.
They can.
I think so too. Yeah.
There's an opportunity, definitely. I really feel like this was more of a pilot season, but there's definitely a huge opportunity. And speaking on what you were just saying, you guys were just saying about the expectancy of the soundtrack. I felt the same way, and then I found out that Flying Lotus has an album named Yasuke that came out the same day that the show dropped, and it's really weird to say. When I went and listened to the album, right, it made the show better.
Yeah, I can understand, because then you'd recognize the songs,
right? Because every song was very descriptive of the path in which the season went, not just the show, but the season. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I would like to listen to that album. I mean, I definitely enjoy his work. That's for sure. Cosmo Grandma is one of my favorites. But like I definitely would like it to get into that. And so I guess if you want to treat this season as a pilot season, then I think that's fair, because where I see it going is like, let's make this the new Samurai Jack. Not exactly like Samurai Jack, but like the way Samurai Jack goes into some crazy, stories, and like it goes through a very long, overarching, very creative narrative. I would like to see that with Yasuke, because I think that the character is interesting. I think that the animation is really good. I just think that the story suffered a little bit, only because it felt like they had to keep it rigid. They had to keep this like, they had to keep the historical stuff in, because they want to tell this origin story of sorts. But I think that with some of the creative liberties that they took weren't really that risky. So I don't know. I would like to see it get a little bit more out there, for sure.
Definitely agree with that. So overall, we all agree that this is a climb up. There's definitely a lot of up that this can take, and I look forward to hoping. Not no, excuse me. I don't look forward to hoping. I hope and look forward to a season 2, 3, and maybe 5.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it could. I think it could go the distance, as we said, as long as they just get weird with it.
I almost sang the song.
Go the distance. Yeah.
Just sing it. Just have a sing along right here.
Yeah. Copyright struck.
So within the season, there were a lot of flashbacks. I noticed a few things in those flashbacks. Of course, I noticed some other things as well, but I noticed a few things in those flashbacks that are very historically appropriate and accurate. However, they weren't exactly portrayed that way. They were portrayed as a part of what they were considering the new way. So that conflict that continued to come up was between the old way and the new way, the old way and the new way. And it was interesting how in watching this, I remembered some of the things I had learned when I was younger about samurai. And one of those things was about the, how do I say this properly? About their openness and lack of exclusivity, period. And the main thing behind that was samurai, the way I understand from the history I remember, they weren't exactly like men of the way. They were men of the world. They were people who had singular lives. They didn't have families. They had no one to care about, so they had nothing to care about. That might include sexuality and lifestyle and all of those kind of things. And I think that was highlighted in some of those flashbacks, as far as the way people spoke with one another, the way that people were stepping out of line in the succession order. But what I thought was very interesting was when you get back to the reality sides of that, none of that was there. Did you guys see any of that? Did you guys notice that they wouldn't really, and I'm going to say wouldn't, because if you're flashing forward from a time where you're trying these things and then 20 years later, they're not even existent. Like it was like you're pushing forward this change, but you're showing that change pushed forward like more of a stableness, like less risk in society.
Yeah, well, yeah, I definitely can see where you're coming from on that. I don't know a whole lot about feudal Japan's history, but it would seem to me that there were probably progressive shogun and progressive emperors, and then perhaps more non-progressive ones. And
Right.
so it would make sense that whoever's ruling the land at that time is kind of dictating what the cultural norms are. So yeah, I mean, like it could make sense that 20 years prior they were having this sort of like progressivist sort of philosophy going on, and then after that lord fell who was pushing that stuff, it just falls apart because nobody's championing it. Yeah, I definitely thought it was an interesting sort of take. I don't know how progressive feudal Japan was. I am not trying to throw any slings and arrows here, but I'm pretty sure it was closed off from the world until like the 1700s or something like that. Like so, yeah. But yeah, I think it is interesting for sure.
And I agree too. And I can't say much about that history because I don't know enough about it myself. But for some reason, anytime I see samurais within that time period, I always like to compare it to the Wild Wild West or cowboys, and that's how I see the east side of the world of stuff. Like the samurai was basically cowboys in a sense. They were like these lone wolf type ish people, and I've noticed that too as well. They don't really focus on like the romance or stuff. They're just basically like these nomad people just kind of moving on. And I noticed that with numerous other animes that do like a samurai-ish type thing, like Rurouni Kenshin, Samurai X, Samurai Jack. You see that.
Yeah.
It's something about that solitude that keeps them pure on the idea of their motives or what they stand for, their moral code.
Right. And there's always sort of a theme of going from samurai to ronin, because a ronin is a samurai without a master.
Right.
And so, yeah, I definitely like that sort of that breakaway from the, you know, sort of rigid structure of having a lord and having to serve your lord, and then becoming this sort of lone wolf ronin that does whatever they want to do. And the ronin rides into town and he saves the village from the evil bandits, or, you know, whatever. And that's a Kurosawa, like, basically that's a staple for Japanese cinema.
Right.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, the first episode is named Ronin.
Yeah.
Perfectly enough. And it's like Dejan said, it is very much like the westerns too, because basically Western cinema took its roots from the Kurosawa Japanese Ronin films, the samurai films.
Oh, wow.
Like, those were heavily influenced all of the spaghetti westerns that we know. So yeah, they're very much tied together, especially in pop culture.
Kill Bill.
I didn't know that.
Kill Bill, yeah.
So moving back from some of the flashbacks to the regular, the first villain we were introduced to was Abraham. Abraham was the guy who hired the group. Again, the group didn't have any name, but we know who they are: the shaman, the Russian bear, Blade Assassin, and the robot. Abraham, however, is the preacher, they called him. And at first we think he's just a religious fanatic. We find out after he's not just a religious fanatic, he is a mutant. What did you guys think? Demon, in fact. What did you guys think of Abraham as a character like that?
I honestly really like that aspect, because that was another thing that made me go look on the internet. In fact, the Jesuit order was in Japan in the 1500s, and they were actually one of the Jesuit. Somebody in the Jesuit order was the first to tell the tale of Yasuke.
Oh, wow.
So the Yasuke tale is heavily tied to the Jesuit order, and the Jesuit order is basically like a Catholic army. In you know, it was an army back in the day. Now they're just missionaries, but yeah, I like that aspect of it. Now they're just missionaries. No comments on the rest of that, but yeah, I did like that aspect. I didn't see the mutant thing coming. I thought that, you know, when he was putting on the brass knuckles to beat up Yasuke, I'm like, okay, well, you should have just went with the mutant thing first. You know, like
the mutant thing is his ace in the hole.
Right, yeah.
As a character, I thought it was interesting. Like my biggest thing with it was like, this. All right, it's interesting, and I was expecting after what had happened. I felt like that happened real soon.
Yeah.
Then I was just like, oh, okay. Did we get this new random villain thing? I was just like, what the hell is that? I'm like, okay.
And
cool.
it wasn't random, because it was the person in the box at the intro fight scene. The one that waves their hands.
Oh, okay.
So you see her for a split second in the intro fight scene, but yeah, if you don't know who that is, you miss it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the first 10 minutes of that whole intro fight scene, I was just like,
yeah.
Okay.
Notice I skipped that, right? There's only one thing. Yeah, I skipped that, and there was no reason to talk about it. There's only one interesting thing in that fight. And like only one, and it's not even really interesting. It just makes one character make sense later. It's like, oh, that was him. That was the coolest moment of that whole time you wasted.
Honestly, as I was telling my wife while watching that, honestly, I think they could have just cut the first 5 minutes of that. It just cut to the scene when he was getting ready to chop off his lord's head.
No, they had to show the arrows. If they didn't show the arrows, then not Matsuhide. Then Matsuhide is the guy who we'll talk about in a minute, the evil general.
Yeah.
Mariske wouldn't make sense, because Mariske is the guy who collected all the arrows and binded them and then threw them to defeat the robot Ronin. At the beginning in that original fight scene. That's the only reason that fight scene is there, is so we know, oh, that's who Mariske was.
Right.
But I was gonna say, geez, I got off topic so
Sorry.
fast with that. No, 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 no. It's cool. It's cool. But the whole thing with that Catholic dude, I think it was like a good way to help demonize the church at that time, especially for what they were doing. And I think that like that was something they squeezed in and be like, hey, look, they were coming into countries trying to brand religion onto the Japanese people, which they did.
Manipulating.
And yeah, and I mean you see that in the whole scene when he's like they're literally dragging him into the village and basically
Mhm.
lying. Then this whole thing is he's like, oh, I'm just telling the half truth, and a lot of shit that goes on with the Catholic Church, Christian Church, it's like the half truth, and it's like these are the same people that try to demonize everything else, but really the whole idea of this dude being a mutant is like you're the demon trying to demonize someone else or everything else that you don't want to understand. So I was like, I just found that was pretty dope on how they did that with that character, and I would love to actually see more of him. Just kind of sad that they just kind of like poetic justice with that cross.
Impaled
like,
him with the cross. Yeah.
Okay.
Had to. So, and that was the whole thing about Abraham, and that's why I asked, because he only lasted for in reality a whole episode. He was introduced halfway through an episode and died right before the end of the next episode. But and so that's what I was saying about it seemed like everything was a little short-lived. 6 episodes definitely seemed like a cut down from the original. I wouldn't be surprised to find out the original, like I said, is about 8, maybe 10 episodes, you know.
Oh, how pissed would you be if you were an animator? I mean, you made
I hear that
3 or
happens.
4 episodes that didn't even make it.
I hear that happens to in editing to everybody in this industry.
Maybe.
It's just one of those things between actors and animators, and if you can do a scene, it take you 18 hours, or excuse me, take you 18 days. They render it down to 18 seconds.
That's true. That's one thing I really can't really talk against, because for me I'm like, okay, writing is one thing, but the art of animation is totally a different thing. And it's just like when I'm at work and I see the time and effort that goes into just the production value is amazing in my opinion, even though the shit comes out crappy. And I think it's the same thing with animation. And I'm like, I took animation back in high school, and I'm like, dude, it took me fucking almost 3 weeks just to make a simple ass flip book with a smiley face that's going like, and I got a C for that. Okay.
Yeah.
I give these guys props. These guys props.
For sure. Hey, them and the claymation guys. Claymation guys are like gods. So
that's patience.
That's what I say. They're like gods. They tap into something different. So through all of this, we find out about Natsumaru. So from the beginning, we were talking about Yasuke saving the guy, or excuse me, saving the kid from the guy, and then not killing the guy. That's how he got into Nobu Naga's tribe, let's call it. One of those members of that tribe was Natsumaru, who is, what was she? She was an Onu Bageisha and a samurai, right?
That's
or is that just another way of saying samurai?
Yeah, that's another way of saying female samurai, and in some weird way. It was weird. I had to like look that up. I was like, is this shit true? I'm like, I had to look it up. I was too, and I was like, no, that was part of the change in feudal Japan in that time era as things were changing, and a lot of them weren't accepted, and they were just treated like shit. But they were badasses in that time period.
Right. So they would have set it off tribe. Got it. And my question on that is, do you guys think that they were lovers? And this is still relating to that openness we were talking about a moment ago. Do you think that Natsumaru and Yasuke were lovers? Do you think they were just really close friends? How do you think that was playing out?
I don't think we know. I don't think they let us know enough. To be honest, I don't know.
I wish it was.
Yeah,
she was giving us signs like.
I mean, I felt like she was,
bro.
but he, and I'm not gonna just talk about it from the aspect of the voice actor, but the character that we got as Yasuke was just kind of dry. like in all respects, it's like it made a little bit of sense, but I don't think from his end we would have got any. So from all the signs that she was kind of throwing, it almost seemed like she was throwing that thing around the world at the boy. So with that being the case, I feel like there's a plausibility, not necessarily a possibility, because that's me trying to be behind the door with him, but a plausibility that it could have happened.
I think it would have happened if he didn't kill her.
I think it happened before he killed her. I think that's why he had to kill her.
She was about to kill him.
Well, that too. They were doing their jobs.
No excuses.
Yeah,
because he even said in that moment, like, that's all this was. You're just a spy and I'm your mark. Like, we're just a spy and a mark. Like, no, was it more than that? It was more than that. And she says that after he impales her. So that's why I had to, like, I'm just curious if I'm the only one thinking, like, there had to be more going on before that. Because why was he awake when everybody else was sleeping? She was awake.
No, there were probably things cut out then.
To tell you the truth, I enjoyed a lot of the flashbacks a little bit more than the main set story plot.
Same.
I felt, and I mean, I was going to probably try to save this for later, but to tell you the truth, I really would probably appreciate it more if they just literally took like the first season and 6 episodes and just take it
did that story
from him being a slave going into being freedom, and just it might have been a little bit slow paced.
Yeah, but it would have been a little better detail wise.
Yeah, especially I think it would have been done well, especially I don't know, it was episode 3. No, I think it was episode 2 when they go to a rival clan's castle, and he basically showing up everybody there after he just wanted to make a peaceful transition of taking over. And I think we could have seen a lot more badass fight scenes like that.
Yep.
And to see that whole acceptance story to give him some more depth and build up, because I actually like the other characters around him at the time to build up.
Same. I honestly think you're right. If the final episode had been him chopping off his lord's head, I think that would have been perfect, actually, to be honest. I think that there was a lot to do. Yeah, they did kind of just gloss over the most interesting part of the show. I mean, like, I know we're going to get to this point, but I did not give 2 dog F's about Saki. I didn't care. I didn't think that she was interesting. Why do these people have magic, by the way? We didn't get that explained. Why is she so powerful?
Or the robot Ronin. It's all prophecy.
Why is there a werebear?
Now that's not prophecy. That werebear was not prophecy. But all the power people, and they were prophecy, and the daimyo who we're coming up on now. She's ancient, older than this world itself, which doesn't make sense, because then where was she before this world? It was a lot. Like we said, we all noticed there was things missing. There was a lot to question. Something else to question, taking us back to the impalement of the preacher. How did Yasuke get all of this strength after he's been beaten and probed by this demon?
Chains? How does he break chains?
Yeah, come on.
It's that Deus Machina.
Yes, it is.
Deus Machina, is that the same as Mandingo?
No, Deus Ex Machina is yikes.
I don't understand. I had to ask. I'm sorry.
It's a plot device in which the character is saved right at the last second.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's much more PG than what
yeah.
Hey, man. Age of Ultron over there with that whole Samuel Jackson coming in with that helicarrier.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, hey, I don't know. I feel like the whole break, once he broke the chains, and that was pretty early into this. That was like halfway through everything. He broke the chains. It was a bit of bullshitism. And I'm gonna explain why. You don't take that kind of a beating and you still have that much fight in you unless you're you're just laying there waiting for them to kill you. And then afterwards, you thank the guy for, thanks for hesitating to kill me.
And it doesn't even matter. Yasuke is immortal, and what human can break iron chains?
He must
no,
be immortal.
no
I'm
human.
down with you on that one. That
I don't- I don't-
actually
I don't-
made
No,
it.
he is immortal, and he was able to do that.
Oh,
I don't
immortal.
understand. Yeah,
Immortal. I thought you
yeah.
said immortal.
No, I
I-
mean, like, but so, I mean, it would have been cool if he had powers too. Why
I
didn't
was
he get
waiting
powers?
for him to have some kind of a
you know what?
hidden
That's a universal thing. That is a universal thing I've heard from people that reviewed this and people that have discussions about it. Like, I was waiting for him to come out with some shit. I mean, which we kind of see at towards the end with the the old telekinetic armor.
Yeah.
But no, I wanted him to have his own shit too as well. Like,
kinetic armor. Wait, what did I miss?
When Saki and him fuse to beat the Spider Woman or whatever her name is.
Oh, yeah, that don't count.
Yeah. I mean, that was Saki augmenting.
Yeah, that was
him.
Saki. That don't count.
Yeah.
no.
But that would have been cool if he was
Yeah.
able to make that on his own, and he had just like this, like, energy armor and like an energy sword. That'd been dope. Or he would tell, like, slightly above average super speed. That would have been cool too.
Or strength.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Or strength.
maybe we're missing the ball. Maybe he was a little stronger. Yeah, maybe it was just that strength.
we did see it. And like all
He
of a sudden
broke-
after episode 4, he started hopping and shitting trees like he was 20 years old. Some shit
Right.
like that.
You know what?
He's in his 50s, I'm pretty sure.
First, we're missing two things. One, his ability was the fact that he was a black samurai. That's one.
There you
Two, I blanked out. So we're gonna move on. No. Two, consider this. We're talking about the black samurai, and he had no powers, right? Yes, he did. He was breaking chains. That's symbolism. That was his power.
Symbolism was his power. Metaphor. My
Metaphor.
power of metaphor.
That's right. He was
It's
a
not even a
samurai.
metaphor. It's a literal interpretation of slavery. It's not even a
Yeah,
metaphor.
like, we're putting that in there. We're just putting
That's
it.
it. That was his power, just breaking all the chains,
Gotcha.
overcoming all the obstacles. Going from he went
It's
from
like all
servant.
the black folks are gonna know about this shit.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Look,
Put it in there.
He went from
Oh,
servant
boy.
to samurai, back to servant, escaped that, and now guess what? Guess what? Saving the world again. Beating up defeating the same daimyo that put me down to begin with. Ooh. All right, I'm done.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's that old story of the the hero that went into retirement has to be called back in order to do one last fight. It's that one last job.
But I'm gonna say this because I'm not gonna name the show that I was about to say. What I'm gonna say instead is why that always got to be a black superhero.
You know what I was thinking is, and this is terrible. I was thinking of that Denzel movie, The Equalizer. Was it The Equalizer?
Okay.
Where he's like working at a hardwood store, but he was like an assassin back in the day, and then he has to go like help save somebody.
Yep.
That's the new fucking running theme for them movies, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, that Queen Latifah's doing the same job.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And you said that's the new running theme, Dijon?
Yeah, I've noticed that. I know there was a movie like that that just came out. I forgot the name of it, but it was
John
just
Wick?
a movie that.
John Wick is the same way. Yep.
Yeah, I'm retired.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
retired.
old, but
I don't do that no
gonna
more.
do it.
I'm like, we can make a list of which
I mean,
movies.
there's so many. There's so many.
It's so many of it, and I think this is where this show kind of got over the top. I mean, not over the top, but just over the head of certain things. Where I just feel like it was too much fan service. It wanted to be too many things all at once. From trying to really put some of the historical aspect of this person, this real person, and try to make it something different. Because at that point, I was like, you should have just took what that was and just made it into a new brand spanking original idea.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're gonna add magic, fucking werebears.
Werebears, yeah.
I gotta check into fucking folklore for Russian people, see where did that come from.
I'm sure that's a real thing for Russians because
it probably is.
A werebear that I can remember is in one of the Russian X-Men movies that came out, but
New Mutants.
New Mutants.
Yeah.
New Mutants.
There was a werebear.
There was a werebear in there, and that's the werebear that has the machine guns and junk.
Yeah,
has like mechanical machine guns on his back.
Yeah, but it was just a shadow werebear in the New Mutants.
Oh, and this one, okay.
Yeah,
But yeah. The one, it's like a movie that came out with maybe like 10 years ago or something that never translated.
Mm.
Yeah.
Actually, then there's another Russian kind of movie came out not too long ago too that they've been fighting to try to get it here in the U.S. It's like all over the top shit. I forgot what it's called, but I'll find that trailer.
Mm. I'm thinking they just don't have enough wolves in Russia, so they run with werebears because
They got
they're
plenty of
overrun by
bears.
bears.
Yeah,
They got little kids wrestling with them. Well, we're gonna move on.
yeah.
Moscow.
So the daimyo's introduced. We can talk about the daimyo in a minute. Let's talk about Morisuke. So again, Morisuke is the guy who had collected all of the arrows and zoomed them through with his light beam, his ultra light beam.
He has the same power as Saki does. Saki does.
I wouldn't say he has the same power as he has like a lower level of the power
Well,
than Sake
he has bitch down version power.
That's right. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
can't
And
reconstruct
apparently
shit.
he's the strongest of all of them. He was the strongest until her.
Until her. Yeah, of course.
Come on. Like, so why was the daimyo just sitting on her keister doing nothing if there was nobody else that could defeat her this whole time? Like, oh, you was just comfortable.
Another classic trope, the child that has all the power. You know, that's like Avatar. There's so many of them.
Right.
You can throw so many fucking fun nods from so many animes in there. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, so that's what you're trying to do. You're putting in there. But,
Now, I will say though, I thought that Morisuke's powers were pretty cool.
yeah,
Like those are some pretty cool powers, and then especially once the second battle started and the way they were able to channel their energies together to protect the building and all that kind of stuff, that was pretty cool. Jump into the astral plane. So and so Morisuke was the only person in the entire episode who mentioned what they had heard about the history of where Yasuke or Yasan had been this entire time. And he mentioned how he had returned to the Jesuits and now he was out on his own and wondering where he had been. So what do you guys like overall Morisuke's power? Like we understand that, he was the strongest, but if you had Morisuke's power, would you have used it the way he did? Like just sitting waiting for the end, basically.
Well, I mean, I guess if that's all you can do. But honestly, that was another thing too. It's like he felt like a shallow character. I don't really feel like I know anything about him.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't know if I know anything about him except that he can shoot arrows or make them glow.
Yeah, more like one of those.
Yeah,
because if you get a couple of those demon shamans or those evil shamans, and they do the same thing he do, so what's the difference?
Maybe he'll come back in future seasons.
Well, he's still alive. He didn't die. Mm-hmm. What about you, Dejan? What? How did Morisuke hit the palate?
For me, like most people in that, I just kind of wish they just stuck with the introduction of the outcast from the slave being free to being the outcast to that character development even more for him, because I think with a more understanding of him as a main character, we would have got to see Morisuke even more in depth to actually care or actually
I get you. Yep.
Man, you can't fuck with this dude. This is gonna be badass when it shows up.
Yeah,
it's like man, it's like the build up for Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z.
Oh no! Here's the build up for Piccolo and Dragon Ball Z, which I get you. The build up for Piccolo and Dragon Ball Z is to me what they did to Matsuhide, who is the Dark General, who you let him get all of these dark evil powers, and right as he's getting to the point where he feels like he can unleash and finally really fight the way he wants to, Saki is in the ethereal realm and finds her life power and just. Calm down, young boy. Like, come on.
Shit.
Yeah.
I wanted to see him blast Yasuke a few times. Like, just a few. Not kill him. He couldn't kill him. He's immortal. Yeah. We figured that out already.
Well, but, another character that could have been better grown if we were talking about the
for sure
20 years ago timeline.
Right. Because all we get is this one interaction of finding out he doesn't like Yasuke. But I'm pretty sure they had some good times together. And that would have been really cool to see what their relationship was like outside of the
or even the rivalry, if it was a rivalry.
Well, yeah, there could have been a rivalry, but even within that rivalry, there has to be more from the rivalry or the friendship. There's more into it because they have to still serve together.
Mhm.
And you see a
So there
glimpse
has
of
to be
it
a level
too
of
here and
respect.
there.
Yeah, I think you see glimpses of the respect for the fact that he has to keep trying to remind him, oh, you're a servant, you're a servant. To me, that's his level of respect. It's like, if you weren't a servant, if you weren't a black, you'd be one of the top of us.
I don't think he was saying it like that.
Yeah, he would have to be if he think he's the top and he's scared of him, because he's clearly scared of him.
Yeah, but I think he was also just saying you're always going to be a servant, no matter what
Yeah, he
armor.
was.
I mean, he said that no matter what armor you wear, you're still going to be a servant.
Trying to salt base some sugar on that thing.
Yeah,
I mean, in reality, yeah. I mean, regardless, too, I would have been like, but bitch, you're a servant too, still.
Yeah, he was a servant. He's serving the Spider Woman.
Factual. And so, Dark General, again, Matsuhide wasn't really much for me. I didn't like that we introduced to him. We find out he has all these superpowers. He's been around all this time, still fighting for the daimyo. And then he just is zapped of it all and spitting up blood a few seconds later. But he still had his telekinetic powers, even though he wasn't connected to the daimyo anymore. That was weird.
Yeah, maybe he had powers to begin with. I don't know.
Perhaps, yeah, because he was able to telekinetically communicate.
They seem pretty loosey-goosey with powers in this.
Yeah, with everybody except Yasuke.
Yeah, everybody except Yasuke, exactly.
Everyone except Yasuke.
Like, yeah, we'll give the other black dude powers.
Right, he has some really cool powers, the shaman. I liked him.
Yeah.
So from
he
there,
survived.
say it again.
At least he survived.
The
Yeah, he
happiest
definitely-
ending.
That is
when he was just riding away on all that
with all
gold.
this. Yeah, I'm gonna say he probably had the best turnout for all of this.
Yeah.
So when the gang shows up and they help out Yasuke, which is how the shaman gets back, we find out that they got there because Saki telepathically communicated with them. I don't know what to think of that, because you showed us when she jumped into the field and stripped Matsuhide of his powers, which basically gave Yasuke the ability to chop his head off. But you didn't show us her communicating with them.
Deus Ex Machina.
Wow, we're back
There was
to
a
that.
lot of
Yeah.
a lot of that in this
Yeah.
series. I seen a lot of. I was like, wow, you guys are
Yeah.
writing yourself in corners quite a bit.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree.
But it
Uh-huh.
reminded me of old school animes. 'Cause, it took me back to a couple of old school animes, like little movies and stuff. It's just some I just can't remember off the top of my head. But a lot of short movies and series reminded me of this style. And I was like, oh. So it's like when I go back and I watch something like Venom or the current Mortal Kombat, I'm like, oh, so we're backtracking with technology into storytelling from that 90s way of shit. So I'm like, it's not entirely bad, as long as you expect it. And this is what I felt with this, in a sense. So,
A little bittersweet.
yeah.
A little formulaic, a little bit. I mean, I think that part of that is homage, like we were talking about before. Maybe they were trying to pay a little bit too much homage to all of these things, so we kind of saw everything from a mile away. But yeah, I mean, once they can get away from that thing and start telling stories that we don't know, then I think that we probably will have
Get more enjoyment.
yeah,
Indeed.
Season 2.
season
2 for sure. So as we're rounding out, so the back end of all of this, for those who came for the spoilers because you didn't watch it and you just want to know what happened, after the gang comes,
spoiler alert, by the way.
yeah, spoiler alert,
There'll be
spoiler alert.
confusing spoilers, so don't worry about it, people.
Yeah, they're confusing spoilers anyway. You listen, you could hear everything we've said to
And
this
still
point
watch it, and
and
you'll
still
still
watch
be
it.
surprised.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like, oh, that's when that happened that they said.
right.
It makes it better for them because now they get it.
That's right. Yeah. At least you guys will have an understanding. You're welcome.
Right.
So the gang comes and the bladed assassin is immediately killed after the robot senses something coming and nobody thinks to take cover. That was nuts because I knew that was what was. I was like,
That
oh,
was the
she's about to
saddest
get killed.
line. That was the
Yeah.
saddest line too.
Yeah.
My
Friend?
sensors are reading you're dead, friend.
Friend. Yeah, I was sad for that. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of touching because it was like they finally had that little bond. Like she's bonding with artificial intelligence. That's nuts. But welcome to 2021. This is what we're talking about. And or was that still that was like what
1571. There you go.
Well, that's where we started. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah. Then the robot self-destructs to kill the next wave of the enemy forces. And then lo and behold, guess what, guys? There's another wave of enemy forces still coming. And then Nikita the werebear goes out to try to save some time. She's torn apart. I thought this was probably the most interesting sequence. That's why I'm going through it. She's torn apart by the evil shamans. Yeah, she got ripped apart. And then from there, it's just the black shaman whose name I can't remember, but the astral shaman.
Was it necessary for all of those people to die, or couldn't they have gone into the pagoda with everybody else?
Pretty much.
I mean, they chose to fight instead of run.
I mean, assassin chick, she had that arrow to the head was like, oh
yeah, she had no chance.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't see
the robot was like, but the werebear, I'm like, you didn't have to do all that. You can just chill up in that tempo.
Yep,
for real. So what I loved about that, so again, this is when we get to the powers and showing Morisuke's skills of harnessing everybody's energy to protect them. Then Tua, the shaman, gets tired of it, and he uses his astral powers to use their powers to form a physical being out there and get busy. And essentially he loses, but luckily as he loses, luckily Saki and Yasuke combined into one. So Sasuke, they have officially defeated the daimyo, which again I felt was a little too easy. But
yeah, way easy.
Yeah, I don't, and that's what Deus Ex Machina. That's where I'm calling bullshit again on that. Because listen, you are this is the oldest energy evil in the world, and this 7-year-old kid, basically 9-year-old kid, 6-year-old kid,
you get tested.
Accidentally figured out how her power is fast enough to defeat her within a week.
Well, and she had her wrapped up in that cocoon, draining all of her powers. All of the powers were drained from Sake, and then all of a sudden, they just get reversed.
WandaVision. Got it.
WandaVision, yeah. And I was like, okay, wait, but why? Why did that happen? You could have explained as to how she was able to do something like that.
No, we're supposed to put 2 and 2 together, figure it out.
Right, well, she comes out as a butterfly, so I guess it makes sense. She's evolving from her cocoon into a powerful young woman, I guess. I don't know.
The daimyo gave her the space to become the beautiful butterfly she needed to rule the world.
Puberty.
Puberty. You're right. Right. Because, all of that being said, that's what I'm getting at. They get back, and now she's one of their own in the town, and everybody loves her and all of that. What do we do now? You mean to tell me that this little girl, who is the strongest entity in history, apparently, is just gonna go live in the town with her arranged marriage boyfriend that she's known since she was a little kid, and she has no clue who, what, and where her parents are?
Yeah, what happened to the mom?
Well, so Ichika, who still was not her mom, was she a warrior? Was she just a caretaker? Was she a wet nurse? What is going on here?
Wait, that wasn't Sake's mom?
No, that's not her mom. Apparently, her parents either sold her or
she's Rey Skywalker now.
Basically,
she's Rey Skywalker now.
Yeah, you see, actually,
she's a Palpatine. No wonder.
That makes a little more sense. But so yeah, it's because when you remember Abraham's story, was Abraham actually have already found her and brought in Ichika to watch over her for him because she needed some nurturing.
It's your face, man.
Yep.
Your face.
Yep. That's what Abraham said. That's how Abraham brought her. That's how Ichika got her. Then Ichika took her and left and stole her.
Way to retcon a mother. You just he literally retconned a mother. Okay.
Right. Well, but that was the sentiment of she wasn't your mother. And then the daimyo said that her parents sold her mother and father. So yeah, no, I don't know. But so yeah, Ichika apparently was killed by Saki on accident at the river in episode 1 when the group first attacked.
We don't see nobody.
We don't see nobody. We
I
don't
was
got no police reports, no nothing. But the proof that Abraham had that she was dead was that Yasuke had her necklace when they found him dead by the, knocked out by the river,
Right.
which isn't what happened. But hey,
No. Yeah. Anyway, that necklace. So wait. Oh, I'm so confused. That necklace
that
is the
Yeah,
same
there you go.
is the same necklace as the girl that he was in love with 20
Yes.
years ago.
yes,
But that's not the
there's-
same woman.
Nope.
No, they're like from the same
Clan.
or
Yes.
some
Oh,
or the
okay.
same
But
town, or yeah,
that evil female samurai could have been her, because when he stabs her in the chest again, he's like, boom, flashback. Like,
right.
are you
I think-
such and
Yes.
such?
I think
Right.
what we're not catching on to is either they know Natasha Romanoff or Ra's al Ghul, one of the two.
Oh,
I don't know, man.
oh,
I'm
man.
so
The
confused.
secret society somewhere in there, man.
Yeah.
They found that Lazarus pit.
They
Yeah,
know they
right.
definitely found that Lazarus pit without question. So from there, we pretty much wrap it all up. Everything ends all peachy keen. I also didn't understand why Yasuke kept the sword for all these years, and then he finally takes it back to Natsumaru's little brother, who is the kid he saved in the courtyard. That's who he gives the sword to at the end of everything.
Man, that's after credit scenes I did not need to see.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh yeah, I
So-
didn't see that.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that was after credit scene. And wait. To add to that, then right after that, you see him off by himself, and he has his own blade. And guess what's hanging onto the blade? Guess what's the charm on the blade?
The pendant, of course. Right?
Yep, the pin.
Is it a Hattori Hanzo blade?
It probably is.
That's a
probably
Kill Bill
is.
reference right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, which I thought the whole Hattori Hanzo thing through the whole thing was a Kill Bill reference.
I thought so too, but I think Hattori Hanzo might be an actual
He is a
person
real
that
person.
exists.
Yeah, I found out he's a real person.
Okay.
So essentially, Kill Bill did their homework, and we just now catching on.
right.
So
Definitely.
from there, we're pretty much done. We've wrapped it up. Everything ends all great. Yasuke goes off, and that's what really gave me hope that we do get a season 2. Is it seemed like he was going off on a new journey,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you have Ichiro and Saki, and they're living together now as children, being raised by Ichiro's parents. I don't want anyone to get the misconception there. They're being raised now as, I guess, brother or sister, so to speak.
That's gonna get awkward soon.
That's gonna get
Which-
super awkward.
Which was confusing at the beginning. I thought they were brother and sister, though. Like,
I thought they were to
Yes.
begin with, yeah.
Just barged into her home without any sense.
Right.
like, what are you doing?
What's happening? Where's the Lunchables?
Yeah.
You got some sugar for my Kool-Aid?
So I'm thinking we're gonna catch the next time we catch up to them. It's gonna be like they're gonna be like 17. Well, this is Japan and anime, so they're gonna be like 15. You know, that's prime age for an anime, 15, 16.
Oh,
And
jeez.
they're gonna find Yasuke as an old dude who really don't want nothing to do with nothing, but he kind of been busting heads on the low for money. Oh, and somebody has to reinvent the way of the samurai.
Mm. How
Yeah,
old is
'cause this-
Yasuke? Is he in his 40s?
He would be in his
Or-
40s, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this time period. I mean, yeah, I can see that happening because he's still trying to have that moral code of honor, and I can see this definitely happening, especially in this time period where the way of the samurais was sincerely on its way out.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
nobody
he's
wants to be
definitely
a
based
samurai anyways. You want to be a ronin. You know? Samurais have masters. You just want to be a
You
ronin.
want to be a Ronin? This is true.
There
Yeah.
you go.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right. So we've gotten through all 6 episodes of information for you guys out there. I think now, guys, we can jump into if there was a season 2, what do you think would occur? Like just a brief plot. I pretty much just gave mine, but just a brief synopsis of how you think that would go.
Mm. I'd like to see him encounter some really dangerous clan that either helps teach him something new or he has to learn something new in order to defeat them. I'd like to see some more of the astral stuff. I'd like him to get some powers at some point.
Okay.
So maybe he finds a dragon and the dragon gives him powers. I don't know, but like
Dragon Balls.
Yes. I mean, or something. Yeah, there's got to be something. Like, give him a magic blade if you don't want to give him total powers. Like, you got to give him a little something.
There's something inside that blade.
Great. Yeah, maybe it's a soul-eating blade.
What did they call those and shit? Like, I forget what they call them, but maybe you probably would know, Nick. Like dudes that are like warriors / magic users. He can be something like that. I forgot what they're called.
Oh yeah, a battle mage. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm just a mage.
Yep. Battle mage. That's you're a fighter and a magic user. I would like to see something like that. It would be cool if maybe like he gets inducted into some sort of magic, society.
Are you guys trying to turn him into Arya?
No. I mean, Arya is awful. I'd like him to be a decent character, please.
Just saying. The man without faces and stuff all of a sudden. What are we doing here?
We don't need to do that. No.
What if we find out Yasuke started the Yakuza?
Oh, that'd be cool.
All right, I'm joking. Don't nobody come.
Be all right with that.
Please don't nobody come for me. I thought it was funny.
That's some over the top shit. I mean, come on. We got that game Like a Dragon and shit. Why not? They make fun of that shit.
Make him fight a guy. What's called Godzilla? A kaiju?
A kaiju,
yeah. Make him fight a kaiju. That'd be cool.
That's what the next season is gonna be. Yasuke season 2, Kaiju Slayer.
Yes. See, then he can start slaying all the monsters. Maybe like this. How season 2 of Legend of Korra could have been good because it was about the spirit world bleeding into the real world. Maybe you start seeing more and more monsters in Japan after the what's the Spider Woman? Maybe the Spider Woman was keeping all the monsters at bay, and now
that's why she needed the power.
Yes, now they need to. Now the monsters are coming back.
But they
Japan.
didn't kill her; they left her alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's shriveled up.
She's a prune.
She's a prune.
Somebody just gonna cry an evil tear on her, and she gonna revitalize. I see it coming.
There you go.
Right. There.
She's a wrinkly piece of shit left there. Wipe off on the side of a building.
So the next question I have for you guys is if I want to call him Sasuke so bad, if Yasuke had a power, an ability, what would it be? Just one. What ability would you give him? Start with you, Dijon. What do you think?
His ability. Jesus Christ. Honestly, I feel like it's been taken already, like some type of like astral projection.
Okay. Give him basically replica of Saki's powers.
Yeah. Basically, like, that whole thing of him being brought back to life, has some, some remnants of that left in him just to like boost it up. Like make fucking make some like fucking magical weapons and shit on call. That'd be dope.
I would just say give him a soul eating sword.
Okay,
that would be kind of cool.
That is
dope.
Just like a sword that gets exponentially more powerful as many people he kills.
Right.
Or monsters.
And I think that is like they could most likely kind of put that in because there is some Japanese folklore on that shit.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah. The Kenshi
swords that kill multiple, like when they get over 1,000 kills and the blood of the enemies. Yeah, bathed in the blood of the enemy. I was kind of thinking the same thing, a demon sword of some sort. Or if they had to give him like an actual, like, he has a power, just basic immortality, like something like Deadpool. Yeah. With a more of a Wolverine regeneration, something much faster. Need your hand to grow back much faster than in 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool to see him get chopped up and stuff and then regenerate.
And just regenerate right there. Like, come on, that's all you got. Kind of like Bond from 7 Deadly Sins, regenerate like him.
Especially how he was getting his ass beat half the series.
Like the whole time. Right. But I like how he even addressed that, like telling Saki, like, it seems like you keep saving me. Like, And she's all OG about it. Yeah, how about we just keep saving each other? Like, oh, so you know that you don't need him. All right, cool. All right, cool deal. I like that. And of course, we can't wrap up without giving our basic ratings, fellas. Without the ratings, what's the point in talking about it for this long, right?
Yeah.
So,
Totes.
It's to be not politically correct about our feelings.
so I will start off this time, which I don't usually like to do for ratings. I gave this an 8.5 because I really liked the creative side of it. Now I can take off points for some of the things I don't like, and I chose not to do that. I gave this an 8.5. I'm sticking to this 8.5 too, but I gave this an 8.5 only because I really hope we're getting a season 2, and I really, like you both clearly do as well, expect season 2 to be really fantastical, and that will justify my 8.5 because this is a pilot.
Well, I think Dijon has turned me. I think.
Oh no!
I think Dijon has turned me a little bit. I'm gonna give this one a 6. I'm gonna go with a 6. It's not terrible. I think the animation is great. I think that they've laid a good foundation. I think where they tried to get fantastical, it wasn't in depth enough for me to care. Like I didn't care about Sake's powers. I didn't care about the Spider Woman. It would have been nice to know a little bit more about that before being introduced to it. But I definitely can see where this series can get a lot better. And I do expect that if there is a season 2, I'll probably be rating it closer to an 8.5.
Right. Yeah, I'm giving it a lot on potential. I'm not gonna lie. It's just I'm jumping out here on a limb, LaShawn Thomas. Meet me halfway, buddy. Meet me halfway.
Seriously, man, you've worked on better anime, dude.
Right. Right. Cannon Busters was there. We're not talking.
Whoop. Whoop.
Whoop. That's
I
it.
seen a lot of similarities from Cannon Busters too.
Small ones. Very small ones.
Character designs.
Dijon, what was your rating? What rating do you have?
I'm giving it a 4.5. But I'll tell you this, it did make me smile in some aspects of it. I definitely see much more room for improvement in the second season if that happens, especially where they can just. I think that the creativity, they're not going to be restricted to a concept of something being historically accurate. After that, I think they can just go buck wild on that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond that, there's a lot of things I ain't too much care, like just the fucking, how would you call it, this the drop in storytelling in some points where I think if they would have redo it, they could have focused a bit more and a better way to flesh out the characters, make it much more meaningful. The music, I was very disappointed in the music as well. Yeah. And the animation was like one of the biggest thing that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate the effort for it, but I definitely think there's, with being a Netflix original, because what I do know from a lot of people who jump on a Netflix bandwagon to get production things done is that they have just about almost 100% creativity for their shit, and I just feel like that wasn't taken advantage of for them as a group growing. But like I said, I'm doing my best to stay optimistic, and I do want to see a season 2 just to shut myself up. But yeah,
Indeed.
in that sense, yes. Because, and another thing is that I don't want to compare too many other animes to this, but I can't help but see other animes that drew me in like that was fleshed out longer or even shorter.
Right.
and that's just my thing. But like I said, beyond that, I'm still optimistic for season 2 with some better shit to happen.
For sure. Indeed. I agree with everything, all the negative and the high and low points. If I'm being honest, so yeah, I'll let the people in the audience do the math. I'm giving 2 whole points on potential. I'm giving 2 whole points on potential. Animation was a big part of that. I was so, like I said from the beginning, on the creators and the composition team of Flying Lotus. So yeah, there were a lot of, like, it was probably out of 3 before I even watched episode 1, right? For me. So yeah, now we're all definitely on the same page. But bringing it total, my 8.5, Dejan's 4.5, and Nick's 6 leaves us with 19.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's still watchable and can still be enjoyable, and I highly recommend it for people who love anime. Check it out.
Yeah.
You're supporting a group that's I don't mean to sound like this, but you're supporting a black group that is stationed in Japan, which is like you rarely hear many ethnicities going from like the United States to like this mainly trying to make something else somewhere else, because that's gutsy, and that's a lot of dedication and resources poured into something, from jumping into a new land, learning a new culture and language. It's a lot to go into it, and I say check it out, because we don't know where the studio may go. We might get some good shit, or we might get a Zack Snyder studio. We don't know. So I'm optimistic in so many shapes and forms.
Yes, indeed. I almost took a shot at you because you definitely tried to get me to watch a Zack Snyder film the other week, but
but
that's neither here nor there.
That's the thing with me. There's a lot of artists, actors, and other shit I am totally against. I'm just like, but I do take those nods. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've heard nothing but good things about Army of the Dead. So I don't know. I'll check it out, and we will see.
Okay, see, now if you haven't seen it yet, then okay, we can do this thing together. We can both watch it, and this doesn't have to be an episode. We're doing. I know we're talking about it.
Guess what we're reviewing on Wednesday, guys.
No, nobody.
You know why? Because I've already watched it. Now I want to make you guys watch it. So yeah.
And I tell you this, I do not like. I only like one Zack Snyder film, and that's 300. Everything else, I'm just like.
Oh, we're gonna have a great time talking about this. Yes,
this is awesome. Yeah. Do you guys see how this just happened? Well,
yeah.
If you guys want to know, that's your first hint and or post about what it is we'll be covering on our next episode of Screen Time Continuum. The Army of the Dead, a Zack Snyder film.
I'm nervous now.
And so this was
I hated myself.
You know what you do? You make great content, man. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we're wrapping up Yasuke. This has been a great episode, guys. I hope everyone who tuned in enjoyed, got what they were looking for, plus a little bit more. If you have any comments or feedback, we'd love to hear, see, head, dead, said, fed, dog, cat. Email it to us, write a letter. That's what all that means, guys. However you can get your comment or how you feel to us, let us know. We're over on the Facebook. Under Screen Time Continuum. We're also on the YouTube. If you like to check me out, Keelan, I have a show called If Numbers Could Talk, which is also on Facebook at If Numbers Could Talk. You can also find it on the Thinkering Talks page, which houses also the Screen Time Continuum and houses Nick's show that Nick hosts with his wife, Ayla, and Mike, who I was going to say, and our friend Mike is like our friend. Like, no, he's our other host, Mike. Don't leave
Yeah.
anybody out. What's wrong with you, guy? But they've run an absolutely amazing show over at the Exofathom. On Exofathom, they talk about everything from the conspiracy theories to meditation and just general walks through life that maybe you haven't read about or thought deep about, but they have done that work for you. And tune in when you get a chance. They are on Mondays and Fridays around 8 p.m. Am I correct
Mhm.
there?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. And if you want to just stay here with us over on the Screen Time Continuum, we'll continue to be here for you on Wednesdays and Sundays at 8 p.m. By all means, we appreciate those who have stuck around this long, those who are going to come back and listen on the audios or anywhere else. We'll see you guys next time. My name is Keelan.
I'm Nick.
I'm the mustard.
Thanks a lot, guys.